Welcome back. Now, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has a tough balancing act to pull off in Parliament this afternoon. He has to please the market by cutting expenditure while ensuring the poor are taken care of. Well, the country is experiencing slow economic growth as well as a high unemployment rate. So let's head back now to Parliament where Rafiwa Madzena is standing by. Rafiwa, important conversations to have ahead of the budget speech at 2 p.m. What do you have?
Absolutely, a tough balancing act that the minister has to do in his maiden national budget speech today. Those bold pronouncements that were made by President Cyril Ramaphosa in the State of the Nation need money, and Enoch Godongwana is going to have to find that money to fund those various projects that were announced by the president, one of them being the infrastructure fund, and really just garnering investment in the country to ensure that a lot of the commitments are lived up to so that we grow the economy, but not only that, Jamela, but grow jobs as well, or create jobs. I've actually got the DA Shadow Finance Minister, Mr. Dion this morning, and thank you very much for your time this morning. And some of the big predictions that you are anticipating will come out of the maiden speech of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana.
Well, as you mentioned, President Ramaphosa said that it is business that's going to create jobs in South Africa, because government can't, and we know that. So what we're expecting from the minister is incentives for business to do exactly that. So, for example, the bigger businesses that are sitting on a large amount of cash reserves that can be invested into the economy, they need to have incentives to actually invest into the economy. So we'd like to see steps to make it easier to do business in South Africa, and then some kind of relief in terms of the incentives. On smaller, medium and micro businesses, that's where we're going to get the job creation in South Africa. So we are expecting the minister to talk about how they're going to provide relief for those businesses, especially the ones that have battled during COVID. They have survived and now they need to grow, because they are the only places that we're going to get jobs. So we would like to see steps taken to relieve the tax pressure on small business. For example, tax holidays, tax reductions, including for their staff, so that the cost of business is lower. So we'd like to see that being accelerated. Also, we all know that we need capital in the economy, so we need to remove the barriers to saving, domestic saving, because if people can save more in South Africa, they will then have more money to invest into the economy, and that's where the jobs are going to be created. At the same time, we do need to make sure that there is relief for people who are battling, the most vulnerable people. So we would like to see the minister ensuring that social grants are increased by at least the inflation rate, and also we would like to see the initiation of a conditional basic income grant for people who are unemployed. We do believe that it's possible off the back of a rising economy. So if you make the incentives attractive enough, more investment will happen, the economy will grow, we'll get more revenue, and we won't need to tax to pay for that. So on the rising tide, everybody benefits. Also, we want to see the minister talking a lot more about our economic enablers. For example, we know in energy, we're really pleased about the move towards private providers, because that's what's going to generate electricity enough for us. But also we need to start talking about water. We have a very serious water problem in South Africa, and I do think that the minister needs to put money into that sector, because we're going to have a crisis it's already started, but in a few years' time we're going to have a really big problem. So it's on those enablers that we need to focus, accelerating business, and then we can have a virtuous cycle. We are very pleased with what President Ramaphosa said at the State of the Nation. We absolutely agree that it's business that's going to generate jobs. Now we just need to see how that becomes a reality in terms of putting money where the mouth is.
And that's the difficulty, isn't it, Mr. George, that we may say or pronounce amazing initiatives to stimulate the economy, but the implementation process in South Africa has always been the problem. And enablers like water, electricity that you talk about are probably two of the biggest incentives for any business to operate sufficiently.
Well, I think the crucial thing is you need to create an environment conducive to business. So, for example, if people have more confidence in the economy, then they will invest. That's local investors and international investors. Unfortunately, South Africa has had the problem with corruption, and it's frightened away lots of investors, not only local investors, but also international investors. So we need to make it very clear that it's not acceptable to do corruption in South Africa. Whether you're in government or whether you're in business, there are consequences. So if we can create that environment that is attractive, people will invest. We've got so much going for us in this country. In particular, our young generation. We have a very young population. We're not educating the population well enough. We also believe that the minister should be putting more money on education. We have proposed that we bring some additional retired educators back into the system so that we can accelerate the improvement of our education. Because if we don't educate our population, we are going to have significant problems in the future. So one of the competitive advantages that we do have is our young people. Also, we have a huge amount of entrepreneurship in South Africa. It's not measured well, but for example, if you go around to the informal settlements, you find a lot of economic activity actually happening. So South Africans are entrepreneurial. What we need to do is encourage that spirit, because it's not the state-owned enterprises that are going to generate jobs. And frankly, the crazy idea of having a super state-owned enterprise to look after all the bankrupt state-owned enterprises makes no sense whatsoever, and we are completely and vigorously opposed to that. What is going to grow the economy is your small business entrepreneurs given the opportunity and a well-educated population.
Finally, we've run out of time, but I can't let you go without asking you this. Do you anticipate that the minister will allocate extra funding for our authorities to deal with the corruption that has been unraveled within the state capture report?
I am not hopeful that much more money will be put onto that. I do remain hopeful that active steps will be taken, because I did ask the minister before how many people have been jailed for corruption, and his answer was, well, I don't do the prosecutions. And that's not good enough. So I don't think you need more money on it. You need more political will. And if we can have that happening, we would be very pleased.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Dion George there, DEA, a shadow finance minister, talking us through what their predictions for this afternoon's national budget speech will be, and really the priorities that the minister should be focusing on: creating a conducive environment for business, which in turn will create jobs and grow the economy, and then also a special focus on entrepreneurship and the benefits that it potentially has to grow the economy in South Africa. Dumela.
Absolutely. Rapio, we heard from the President during the State of the Nation address, also reiterating those sentiments that government does not create jobs, it's businesses that create jobs. However, they will need that support still from government. Thanks, colleague. We'll be sure to get back to you for more voices a bit later on right here.